Don't rush me, Paul. I'm not fully prepared.
Not fully awake.
Oh, not fully awake. It's far too bloody early. Really. What time is it?
5:30.
No, it's not.
9:30.
9:30 in the morning. I had to readjust my hair because, frankly, it needs a good cut. And I'm 1 inch away from looking like Gloria Hunniford. I'll tell you.
Oh, bless. I love Gloria. I really do.
Yeah, she's got lovely hair, but it just doesn't suit me.
No, maybe not. No.
Anyway, just one moment. I'm moisturising. Oh, God, no.
I remember doing a big choir. What's it? I think like 1,000 Voices or something at the Royal Albert Hall, and it was for Gloria's daughter, who had died.
Karen
Keating, for her charity. And I was there. I hadn't worked with Cliff for some time, and I was there because I'd been working on the show, and then various people, Cliff and some of his managers, saw me in the audience, and that's when we got back in touch and did various of his tours for ages and ages and ages after that. Yeah.
You've dropped a couple of names on the floor. Really? So anyway, shush now, Paul.
I was just filling in while you were doing your
filling
your
in with
fluffy
one of Paul's
things.
Star Stories.
Yeah.
Paul's Star Stories. That's a new series, isn't it, Paul?
It's not.
You could do a new series on that,
I
Paul,
could
and
actually,
tell us
yeah.
all about the history of your
Yeah.
encounters with West End stars and famous people.
Yeah, I could.
You could, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna.
Yeah. And unlike other people who do it or have done it, this isn't about doorstepping. It wouldn't be about doorstepping people at the theatre door, stage door. It's actually people that I've worked with.
Paul was in marketing,
Yeah.
so marketing kind of goes beyond what you think it does in theatre. It's not just about appealing to your audience.
No.
It's about looking after the show so that it actually runs very smoothly.
And the artists.
In order for it to actually sell further. Because if everybody's happy in a West End show, the show is good, it works well, the performers do a great job, and everything works together to sell it.
There we
That's
are.
kind of how it works.
Have you ever done marketing? We used to big up shows, didn't you, when you were on the phones and get your people to, when he was at Ticketmaster.
Well, I didn't, because I think you'll find I was the
You
manager.
were the manager, yeah.
So I didn't, but
yeah.
you had to sell.
These
the
were the
shows.
days where Ticketmaster was a proper company.
Well, it was people on the phones selling shows.
People on the phones. It was customers calling in saying, "Oh, I'd like to go and see this."
Yeah,
but
you weren't supposed to spend time.
Oh no!
You had to do a booking within 90 seconds from start to finish, which obviously was never really possible if somebody was undecided on which show they wanted to see.
Well, they always wanted to see Phantom or Les Mis, and they were sold out, so you had to put them into something else. That was the thing, wasn't it?
You would do what was called
cross-selling.
Cross-selling, but you'd also cross-sell other products.
Like a dinner.
Or a car parking space, things like that. Anywho, welcome to the show. Welcome.
But it's interesting that you
Paul.
say that Ticketmaster, it would take like 90 seconds. That would
Well, no, that's what you were supposed to do.
To book a ticket now on Ticketmaster takes much more than that.
Well, you get 4 minutes, don't you?
Yeah.
With a timer. Tick, tick, tick,
With
tick.
technology, it's now sort of gone up 2-3 times that time.
And a computer doesn't know which shows are good and which shows maybe you should avoid.
No.
Really?
No. Anyway, there we are. Yeah.
Shush now.
Sunday chat.
Welcome. So, what's in store for today's show? I wonder.
Not a lot.
No, there isn't a lot. It's really early because there's stuff going on today.
Yeah.
Paul has to go out
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
funnily enough, to manage a show.
Yeah. To look after a show.
To look after a show, and but not in a sort of marketing capacity.
No, that's sort of all
Is that
done
my washing
now.
machine?
It is your
singing?
washing machine singing.
That's
yeah.
the spin finished.
Maybe we could do a washing machine musical. I mean, Kate Bush did a song,
She did
didn't
Mrs.
she?
Bartolozzi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could do a musical about happy washing machines and one washing machine that isn't quite so happy, and it's sort of, when it goes into its spin cycle, it sort of runs across the floor.
That's
and
what
everyone
mine
thinks
does.
it's going to escape, and the other washing machines, they come along and they don't want it to escape because they're a happy washing machine family, and they try and get it better, and they get an engineer in to try and help, and the engineer's got to be a nice engineer with not a sort of, plumber's
all
bottom
right.
and things
Now,
like that.
You are going ahead. I was quite engaged at one point. I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, no, shush now, Paul.
Yeah.
Let's get the book out, shall we? Everybody sitting comfortably and ready for the show? It's very early today, so we're not fully awake.
I am.
Is that today? Yes. Well, you're seeing this on the 13th of October, but today is Saturday. That means it's the 12th.
It is the 12th, yeah. Yeah.
So welcome and thank you.
Everybody,
in the whole wide world.
whether you're little, or whether you're big, or whether you're little, or whether you're big, or whether you're little.
So, we always kick off with Richard and Paul's weather report. We've got tea with us as well today. Have you got a tea with you?
Is this Listen With Mother?
Why not?
You'd be great with Listen With Mother in your voice, wouldn't you?
Why not pause the show and go and boil the kettle? That's if you can afford to boil the kettle. It's the Ferrari of appliances, isn't it?
Oh,
the
it
kettle?
is. Yeah.
On the smart meter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Join us while we sip tea and talk
About the weather.
about the weather, because that's what we Brits do.
Yeah.
I prefer to think of myself as English rather than British. What about you, Paul? What are you? You're a Guernsey person, Guernsey.
Well, of course, by true origin, we're all African, aren't we?
Well, eventually, if you go far enough
Yeah.
back, yeah.
I prefer to think of myself as British French. I am, by my passport, I am British. But of course, that was before
French.
Britain basically won the Channel Islands in a battle in the late 1100s. So in 1204, Guernsey stopped being French and became British. So yeah, I'm British because of the Crown dependency. But otherwise, I think of myself very much as a Guernsey person.
What they called Guernsey people then? That's what a Guernsey is.
Guernsey, I can't say it now. Guernsey-azy.
Guernsey-azy.
Guernsey and Jerry-azy. Jersey-azy, yeah.
Really? That doesn't sound right to me. Oh, it doesn't.
Guernsey people. Donkeys. Guernsey donkeys, yeah.
Well, that's not true.
Well, there it is. They're sort of... Guernsey people are referred to as Guernsey donkeys because they're supposed to be a bit dim, but actually they have a big kick in them if you start to...
I thought you were going to say something else then. I was going to say that's definitely not
a big
true.
kick in them if you sort of start messing them around.
Lovely, Paul, thank you and shush.
Which of course Churchill did in the Second World War when he decided that the Channel Islands weren't really important. That's why I don't like Churchill.
Well, they are very small.
I know, very small but highly important during the war because the German U-boats which were stationed there could easily get into the English Channel from there by going behind, following the following the tide, just shoots out from Mont Saint Michel, goes behind Alderney, and then U-boats could get into the channel really quickly. And of course, Britain should have kept control of the Channel Islands over the war because there would have been less damage in the English Channel.
Yeah,
but there we are, Churchill was wrong. So,
God.
yeah.
He was also an alcoholic as well, wasn't he? He was pissed off the time.
Yeah. So the weather.
These people in power.
Absolutely.
These people in power.
Talking about or going back to the weather.
What has the weather been like this week, Paul?
I literally was soaked. I went to Lidl.
Now, look. Now, this is a story, isn't it, Paul?
Are we going back to washing machines?
This was Tuesday, wasn't it? Because my niece, Sophie Stock, from Sophie Stock Art, I'll put a link in below if you want the best pet portraits on the planet, and you need to visit Sophie Stock Art. You can actually send a photo and she will do the most amazing graphite sketch. Well,
various different styles of
styles, but she will do the most amazing photorealistic sketches. Well, they're not sketches, those are they?
No,
they're fine
drawings.
art.
They're fine
art
yeah,
drawings.
Absolutely.
So check her out in the link below. Anyway, she was coming to stay because she had an event on the Wednesday at the Kennel Club, and
where one of her pictures is being exhibited.
That's right. And I said to her, look, we'll pick you up because the weather forecast is pretty grim and there is a chance you could get completely and utterly soaked through to the skin. Yeah. And that's what happened to you, Paul.
It did. I went to Lidl. I looked at the window and there was a window of it wasn't going to rain in this sort of like 40 minutes. I met somebody in Lidl, we got chatting, somebody from the plot. We left Lidl at the same time together and it started raining, or it was raining. But then I needed to get back to my desk, so we stayed in a sort of shop doorway for a short while, but then I knew I needed to get back, so I came back and then the heavens opened. And literally...
Actually...
I was looking at paving slabs thinking there must be 100 huge drops of rain hitting that paving slab every second. I was drenched. My bags were drenched. I had plastic bags. I had 2 plastic bags in my hands. They had an inch of water. One had 2 inches of water in it.
And there was shopping
ridiculous.
in there as
there
well.
was shopping in there. Things that were sort of well wrapped were wet inside.
Even your bananas got wet, Paul.
Well, yeah,
they?
bananas did, yeah. But anyway, yeah,
I
had to, I had to undress at the door and go and put things into the washing machine and put them on a quick wash.
Yeah, which was an unbalanced load.
Which was because apparently it was too small a load.
Yeah.
So
thank you very
but
much.
yeah,
Paul.
it was so wet.
But it's been a mixed week. I mean, that day was particularly bad. I mean, I was watching the rain at work, and there was sort of, it was like somebody turning on and off.
It was
because it would come down at complete ferocity, and then it would stop.
Yeah.
And then it would start again. It was crazy.
Apart from when I was coming back from Lidl, where it just didn't stop.
But Paul,
I was looking out of the window one day this week, and I thought all of the roofs, like 100 metres away from us, they're all getting wet. And I looked, and there was a band of rain coming across those roofs, but we didn't get any rain.
Localised.
Very localised.
When they say localised, it can literally, actually rain on you and not somebody else.
Yeah.
I know.
Quite sure.
One
that's
could
a bit
get
like cartoons.
One could know. I've seen it.
I don't think there's a personal cloud, though.
Oh, that's where you're wrong. Yeah. So biblical rainstorms throughout the week. It's been a mixed week. Yet yesterday,
I was going to say, gorgeous.
Beautiful. and we went out and a bite. We were planning on going somewhere, but we didn't know where. And you said to me, didn't you, Paul, why not try Boston Manor? And I said, Boston Manor? I suppose so. What a good idea. So Boston Manor...
Did you say that?
Yes, I did, Paul. Why? What do you think I said?
I thought I thought your face said, I don't want to go to Boston Manor. No, I'm not interested in that.
No,
and
first,
then you looked it up and saw there'd been an awful lot of refurb. We haven't been there for 8 or 9 years.
Right.
9 or 10 years, in fact.
So Boston Manor is our local stately home. It's a Jacobean mansion. And it has been, I mean, it's well known in the area because the tube station is named after it.
Yeah.
And we went there years and years ago with Mum and Dad, didn't we? We went for a little walk around the whole grounds because I don't think the house was open.
No, the house was not, it was dilapidated, it was unsafe, I think. And we went there because you could easily park there.
Yeah.
And then for Dad, it was a relatively flat surface that you could walk on.
Yeah.
So not too many hills, you know. Anyway.
So anyway, we decided to visit it and had a super afternoon.
Got the bus.
Got the bus there.
Yeah.
Walked around, did all our bits and pieces, went to the cafe and had a cake, which I found, to be absolutely honest, my brownie was a bit dry.
Yeah, you don't want a dry brownie.
I don't want a dry drownie.
Dry drownie.
I don't want a dry brownie, but it was very pleasant.
Fortunately, my shortbread was absolutely right. It wasn't moist because you don't want a moist shortbread. No, you want it to be nice and melt in the mouth, but not moist in the mouth.
Anyway, so we then...
they had noisy chairs.
They did, but it was a very low ceiling in that cafe because it's in the basement, isn't it?
I don't mean that the chairs were in their own little musical and they were singing and being very noisy. I mean when people moved the chairs because it was all metal, they were a bit...
But that's what I mean. It was a low ceiling in there. And I said to you, didn't I, Paul? I said, if there were a lot of people in here, I bet it's really quite noisy.
Yeah, yeah.
Anywho.
Nice coffee.
Nice coffee.
Very
nice coffee.
Yeah.
And then we went for a little walk around the grounds and we decided to walk back down the canal because there is a pathway which leads you to the canal.
Yeah, a bridge that goes over the canal so that we can walk back on the other side, which we did do.
Yeah, and that was a good walk. I mean, that's about 1.5 miles, isn't it? I think, that walk. Yes, it is. It's a mile.
Is it 2 miles to Brentford?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe about 1.25 miles then.
Yeah, something like that. So that was good. And if you'd like to see footage of that little trip, how exciting, go and look at my daily vlogs.
Aww.
Yeah.
You can also have a little look at A Week at the Plot because I also did a little segment there. But that will be coming up tomorrow. So after tomorrow, you'll be able to see it today. But today, you won't be able to see it till tomorrow.
Lovely. So how was your working week, Paul?
It was full of lists and crossing things off. And because we've got the first event at the Great Green Barn this evening of the autumn season, the theatre event of the autumn season. So I'm down there later. That's Saturday. And of course, there's been lots of things to check off and do lists, like loo rolls in the loos. The loos have just been built. There's two loos and a disabled loo as well, so there's 3 loos in total. You know, things like toilet paper needs to be in there, the hand drying facilities. All of those things had to go into a list, then we check them off and do it again and, you know, check them off. We use Google Keep. Vanessa's sort of now quite liking Google Keep, which is good.
I love Google Keep.
I think it's fantastic.
Keep Notes.
Keep Notes.
Used to be called, didn't it?
Yeah.
Has it changed?
Yeah, I think it's Keep now. It's just called Keep. And for things that we need to sort of keep a long note of, or what I often use Excel.
And
but
it's handy because you can copy and paste from it.
Absolutely.
That's why
Google
it's
Keep.
handy.
You can do, and this is what I do a lot for the social media posts and things that I do for our sake. I'll draft them in Keep, and then copy and paste them into the meta, as it is for those. So yeah, it's
endless
good.
lists.
And just checking things and saying, oh, we haven't got that, we need to have that. Sales are okay for this evening.
And what's the show, Paul?
It's called Ode to Joyce. It's recreating a stage show of Joyce Grenfell, who was a very famous female comic stroke comedian stroke actress many years ago. She was in St. Trinian's movies, the original St. Trinian's movies, and various other things. So yeah, I think, I'm hoping it all goes well this evening. You always hope these things go well, don't you? I'm sure the show will be great. We just need to make sure that from the audience perspective everything goes smoothly, even if in the background we're all sort of running around a bit.
That's always the way, isn't
Absolutely.
it? That's the nature of a show.
Yeah. So
Lovely.
Yeah.
My working week's been fine, thank you for asking. I'm back to part-time, as you know. Yeah, I think I'm sort of starting to feel as though I'm developing a new routine.
What, playing Star Wars?
Playing games. Paul, I have to get to the next level. I'm still playing Star Wars Lego, and I'm loving it. But what I think you've noticed though, Paul, I don't sit there all day playing it.
No.
I allocate time to it.
Yeah.
Though I do.
Like 4 hours of Star Wars.
No, I don't sit there
10
for
minutes
4
of
hours.
laundry, 3 hours of Star Wars.
That's not true.
Having some lunch. Yeah,
That's not true.
That's not true. That's not true.
It
No,
simply
it's not
isn't
true.
true.
It's not true.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't waste... Sorry.
What? Nothing. I wasn't saying anything. I was just scratching my nose because it was itching.
Yeah. If you want to live, I'd shut up.
We also sorted out the car, didn't we?
Yeah, but you can watch more on that in my vlogs. Yeah, we did. We fitted some new seals, and we think that we may have at least reduced water ingress. Anyway, that's all I'm talking about, water ingress and things like that. I can't bear all of that. It drives me up the bloody wall. No, it really does.
Yeah. Well, things like that do, don't they? You know.
Yeah, anyway, not talking about those things. Deny. I think being in denial about certain things is great.
Oh, I totally agree with you.
Be in denial.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a coping mechanism.
It is a coping mechanism.
And people shouldn't
diss
being
it. No,
in denial.
I know. Yeah.
I'm firmly in denial about many, many things in life.
Yeah.
And long may it continue.
Yeah.
Anywho, there was a strange gap there.
There was,
Used to
yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
It was your fault.
It was, yeah.
Anywho, it's time for Word of the Week.
Yay!
Word of the bloody week.
Yay!
Intellectual word of the bloody...
It might not be intellectual.
Oh, it will be. It will
might not
be. It will be. Here we go. Oh, God.
You've got long arms to reach over there.
God. Help me.
So what are we looking for, the 13th?
13th of October. Oh, Jesus.
That date rings a bell for some reason. I'm not
Jesus,
sure why.
Mary, Mother of God.
What's it this week then?
Well, it's fun. Pumpkinification.
Well,
Pumpkinification.
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 Making things into pumpkins?
One would assume so, wouldn't one? But of course, Stephen Poole has made a meal out of it. That's a word for every day of the year, by Stephen Poole.
What, like pumpkin pasta with pumpkin sauce?
Oh, I wish it were that easy. Right, you ready?
Yeah.
You're listening. There we go. Okay. Oh, I should really have my reading glasses for this, but they're over there. Glasses, come to me now. Nope.
Star Wars isn't working, clearly.
No, my force is weak this morning.
Too early.
Yeah, it's too early for the force, yeah. The Roman Emperor Claudius died by poisoning, possibly at the hands of his wife Agrippina, on this day in 54 CE. That's the Common Era. Shortly afterwards, his successor and great-nephew Nero, along with the Senate, officially pronounced him to be a god. Some were not so impressed, however, and Seneca the Younger wrote a satire about Claudius called the Apocolocyntosis.
Apocolocyntosis.
This is a play on the Greek and later English word apotheosis, which literally means becoming a god. But here, Seneca writes of how Claudius became a pumpkin. Pumpkinification then means any extravagant or absurdly uncritical glorification. That's the Oxford English Dictionary, and so serves as a more mocking general version of hagiography. As one waspish reviewer wrote in 1904, the biography he was reading was not an apotheosis, but a pumpkinification of the Emperor William II. Do we now live in an age where pumpkinification is the norm?
Or maybe that's Trumpkinification.
Well, he is orange.
He is orange and round.
So there we are.
And full of nothing. Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah, there we are.
So lovely. Final segment of the week, which is called...
What have we been watching this week?
What have we been watching this week on television? RuPaul's Drag Race, we continue.
Yeah.
Good. It's a good season.
It's just good entertainment. It really is.
It's a good season.
The queens are all pretty... I mean, they're all very, huge, but they're all pretty normal as well. I think that's quite nice.
Well, I think there are a couple that are weaker.
Oh, of course
definitely.
there are. There always will be.
And there are maybe one that's quite annoying as well. But there's always one.
Yeah.
Isn't there?
Well, there's always at least one. Yeah.
Paul wanted to watch The Great British Bake Off. So we did.
Yes. You fell asleep.
Well, yeah, because I really, really am not into Bake Off.
Anymore.
No.
You like it when... I like it as well when things go wrong.
When people drop things, when people break things, I find it hysterically funny.
So when they're building the gingerbread houses and things, that's
they're
always...
falling over. Love it.
Falls over and...
Love it.
And, so, we watched that. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a show about baked goods.
It is, yeah. Well, I mean, you can, at the end of the day, this is a show about two puffs chatting on a sofa in their front room. That's it,
I think I enjoyed it at the beginning because I quite liked the presenters. It was it Mel and Sue that started it?
And Mary.
And Mary Berry.
Mary Berry.
Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked that combination. I don't particularly like Prue Leith. as a presenter.
Poor Prue.
Well, no, I don't. I think she's...
I think she can be quite humorous sometimes, but...
I just don't warm to her. Paul Hollywood, I can take or leave. And I just don't really get on with Noel Fielding. I don't find him funny. Never have. It's nothing personal. You understand?
No.
It's what you enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Didn't Sandy Toksvig do it at one point?
Yes. Yeah, she did,
Because I like Sandy Toksvig.
Yeah, she did it when it went to Channel 4. She did it, didn't she?
So we watched that. Whatever. What's that? Who?
We also what?
We continue with Charlie Cooper's Myth Country.
Yeah, I thought there was just like 3 of those, but apparently it's a sort of complete series of quite a few. So, yeah, I mean it's quite
3,
fun.
Didn't we?
We watched one last week, which we spoke about. Then this week we watched one about crop circles and stone circles, and we watched one about King Arthur.
Oh yeah, because they went to Avebury, didn't they?
They went to Avebury.
It was really interesting, but I had a look online for a copy of Myths and Legends of Britain,
which is the book
that we had as children, that my dad purchased in the 70s. Oh my goodness me, it's a clearly sought after book. 184 quid I saw it on sale for.
Yeah.
So if you've got a copy of that, keep hold of it and keep it in good condition, because it's, I think, a bit of a rarity nowadays. But it is a brilliant book. So, what's that? I can't understand.
We watched The Martian Chronicles, or we're watching The Martian Chronicles, which was late 70s, wasn't it?
I think it was 1980, wasn't
1980, and with Rock Hudson. It was a TV show that was huge at the time, really, really huge. And we're watching it on YouTube, really bad copy. It feels very, very long, and we've got, I think it's 4 hours, 4.5 hours. We've got about another hour and a quarter to go, which we will watch at some point, maybe Sunday afternoon if it's raining.
It's a very odd programme.
Because
it was clearly, it feels very 80s. I mean,
it feels very 70s, I think.
Well, no, to me it feels very 80s, because if you look at the scenes where they're walking through the remains of the Martian city, and it's all geometric shapes.
Yeah.
Triangles, pyramids, crystals, circles, and there's a couple of shots where you've got bright blue sky behind it with these sharp geometric shapes, and to me that's 80s style. Certainly the early 80s, when geometric shapes were very much in vogue.
But they're in the book, aren't they? Which is much earlier than that. It's 60s, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and what I'm saying is these... Well, yeah, I mean, there's always been a fascination with the pyramid shapes and all of that.
And crystals.
And especially in connection with Mars. You know, the pyramids on Mars and all of that, the face on Mars.
Yeah.
So there's always been a fascination, but I think programs like that and designers of programs at that time were very much feeding into the general aesthetic of the time and almost setting the trends. You know, it fed into that. So it feels of its time.
I did
and it's
realise...
quite basically put together.
Oh, it is, yeah.
The editing is terrible.
I mean, they spent money on Rock Hudson, I think, so, yeah.
But Rock Hudson is one of the worst elements of it.
He is, yeah.
I mean, I like Rock Hudson and his earlier work. I think he was absolutely beautiful to look at, and he was a typical leading man. But it's almost like he is still playing that Hollywood vibe.
Well, he was a studio artist.
Yeah.
I mean, they were trained in a particular way, you
and
know,
it
to
shows.
be.
It really
does.
shows.
It does.
And it's fascinating to watch, because I remember watching it as a child, and it was on quite late.
It was 9 o'clock.
And no, I think it was repeated later as well at one point. I'm sure I remember watching it later than that.
Anyway, I think I've mentioned this before, when I'm feeling pretty unwell, like if I have flu, I have these dreams about shapes and orbs and triangles and running through this sort of scenery with huge shapes, coloured shapes. And I suddenly realised as we were watching it that when the Martian Chronicles was on first time round, well, I think it's the only time round, I was not feeling well. I was feeling really unwell. And the Martian landscape that he's just been describing is exactly, apart from it being much more colourful in my dream, is exactly what's in my dream.
Wow,
so it harks back, when I'm feeling unwell, it harks back to me, when I have that dream, it harks back to me watching the Martian Chronicles, all those years ago.
You probably won't have that dream again.
I most probably won't, no. I used to have a fear of a man standing in our bedroom doorway and the light behind it. I always had that fear, and I thought all my life, and then maybe about 15 years ago I suddenly realised that what it was is when my brother died when I was 15, when Mum was sitting on my bed, this was like sort of 4 o'clock in the morning, it was dark outside, all the lights were off, but the hallway light was on, and Mum was sitting on my bed and Dad was standing in the doorway. And it suddenly dawned on me when I was discussing something, this image, and since that moment, since realising that this fear of a figure of a man standing in a doorway with light behind him goes back to that moment. I've never had that fear.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think we do make connections as time goes on. If we're lucky, some people don't. But we do make connections, and very often those connections or those realizations are like a piece of a jigsaw.
Absolutely, it's like finding that last piece.
When that piece fits into place, a type of resolution occurs. You resolve that particular issue.
Well, you literally see the whole picture and then think, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and once
that's
that
what
happens,
that is.
It's almost as though it dissolves. That's why having, it's really terrible to have unresolved things in your life.
Yeah.
I think I've got a couple of unresolved things in my life.
I think we all have.
That play on your mind at certain times. And very often there isn't a way of resolving. So that's when acceptance comes in. You have to accept that it's something that you may not resolve. And I think that act of acceptance, self-acceptance, acceptance of something that maybe you can't resolve or cure or change, also becomes that piece of the puzzle. You can make it become that piece of the puzzle. You can choose to fill that hole with a piece of the puzzle that maybe isn't the same colour, but it's the same shape, and you can force it in. But hey ho, and here endeth today's lesson. So, Sky at Night question time with Dallas Campbell.
I mean, why?
I don't understand him as a presenter, but the rest of the programme was fine, but just annoying that he's still presenting it, really. I don't understand.
There are questions which are being posed by the audience and by, sort of members of the public, and he has questions on cards, and when he's reading the cards, it feels like he's never read these cards before. And one of the things that's really important is if you go on to do something like that, you need to be aware. You can say, oh yes, we got a question here about Mars and blah blah blah. But when he reads it, it's as if it's sort of like completely new to him and completely new to everybody else. And I just don't get that style of
One of the
presenting.
experts didn't look too happy either.
No,
did
she was really good, I thought.
She was excellent.
But we didn't get a lot from her, sadly.
But she kept throwing a bit of side eye, didn't she?
Yeah, sort of like...
I don't know. I mean, clearly he's very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
As a presenter. He knows what he's talking about because I think it's his bag.
Yeah.
But it just, I don't know, his personality just doesn't do it for me.
Dara O'Brien doing that would be far better.
Dara O'Brien would be
Absolutely much better.
We also watched Question Time in Philadelphia, did you say
yes,
it was?
It was in Philadelphia.
I know, amazing. That was...
very different to, well, very similar structure to the Question Time we watch in the UK. It was with the same presenter, it was a British programme.
Trying to stay in control.
Yeah, and not really achieving it.
Well, isn't it interesting, the difference between... obviously, the people that were there don't really know the show.
No.
So they don't probably have that notion that Fiona will stay in control.
And will talk over you and get you to stop if you just go on
and will shut you down if need be. I kind of felt as though some of the audience members maybe felt as though it was more of a daytime show, because there were moments where they were kind of almost arguing amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Which really isn't done on Question Time.
No, not at all.
The audience was very different, so it was a different experience watching it.
But what amazed me right at the beginning was one of the advisors to one of the current presidential incumbents, whatever they are, saying that all politicians lie and it should just, it's just part of what they do. And it's like, really? Now I know politicians lie, but actually that should not be what they do. They should be called out. If something is wrong, they should be called out. And interestingly, they did have a BBC correspondent with Fiona who was fact-checking things as they went along. So when any of the panel said something, if Fiona felt it wasn't quite right, or maybe she heard in her earpiece, we need to get this fact-checked, she went over to the BBC correspondent who was there on the panel and fact-checked.
Lovely. Anywho, let's move on. We watched that programme on Jurassic dinosaur bones and archaeology type thing.
We came across it. We
just
finished supper and I just sort of flicked over to a channel and they were talking about dinosaur bones, but huge dinosaur bones, weren't they? Absolutely enormous.
And the process of getting these fossilised remains out of the ground without destroying them, because they can just crumble into dust, and the methods that they use, and then the people that kind of glue it all back together to prevent it from falling apart. It was fascinating.
Completely.
Really fascinating. These people are bloody clever people.
And we're talking about, like a shoulder blade, which is like 6 foot long, and they wrap it, once they start uncovering it and they know they're going to take it out of the ground, they sort of wrap it in tin foil and then they put plaster of Paris over it, like we used to have when you broke your arm or your leg. You used to have that plaster of Paris, and then they lift it out. Incredible. And then they unwrap it in the laboratory. And then
they kind of fill it with glue and God knows what.
Fascinating.
Amazing. You watched Benidorm, 10 Years on Holiday. This is about the comedy Benidorm.
Yeah, it's a comedy series that started, I think, in 2008, written by Darren Litton. And it's a programme that I never actually thought that I would watch, because Benidorm is not a place that I have any interest in going to. But I watched the first episode when it came out, and I just enjoyed the people, the characters. I just really enjoyed it. Thought it was funny, thought it was quite moving in certain places. It moved from a 30-minute programme to an hour-long programme with adverts. And this was basically using an awful lot of the stars and then looking back. Darren Litton was going around Benidorm showing places that had been used in the show, and it was just really enjoyable. It was. I know they tried to do, I've never seen it, but I think they tried to do a similar thing in the UK called Scarborough for the BBC, but that was shelved, I think, after the first series.
I went to Benidorm once, and no disrespect to anybody who enjoys going to Benidorm, I didn't enjoy it. I really didn't see the point of going to a place and being surrounded by British people, getting drunk and eating British food. I didn't see the point in that. I get it that people go to a resort for a cheap holiday to get away to the warm, yeah, but it's not for me.
However, when we went to Bali for 3 weeks, many decades ago, there was one thing that you craved after about 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, and that was an English cooked breakfast.
Yeah.
So we went to try and find one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we sort of did.
We didn't go to try and find one. We went to the place we'd been having coffee in for quite a while.
One. Yeah.
And they just happened to do it.
On a Sunday, yeah.
But I was sick of rice. I was.
He still gets sick of rice now. Sometimes he'll go, oh, can't we have couscous or bulgur wheat?
I much prefer couscous.
He does.
It's my favourite grainy type
thing.
I know couscous isn't a grain, it's a
pasta.
Yeah, there we are.
You see, I like to sort of mix it up. So if we've had pasta, spaghetti or something, I'll try not to. I'll do bulgur wheat or rice.
Shh. Bye for now, then.
Thank you
for joining us this week.
Didn't we watch something else?
No, that's everything.
Oh,
we watched everything.
What was everything?
That's it. Say goodbye now, Paul.
Are we going?
Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
You look lovely, Richard.
It's been a pleasure.
Oh, right, we're going.
Bye.
We're going. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.